All right, we are on, we are live. Welcome to the May 13th, 2026 Davis County Council agenda. As always, we will start with the pledge. Pledge allegiance. First on the agenda is the approval of the April 8th, 2026 council meeting minutes. Don't know if anybody's had a chance to look at them. If you see any additions or corrections, let me know. If not,
So moved.
so moved by Matt,
Second.
second by Marilyn. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. Next up is the BZA board appointment. Obviously, we had one who had to get off that board, and we are still looking for that appointment. If anybody would love to be a part of that. So that gets passed. Next, commissary report. Doesn't look like Sheriff Gary Allison.
No, sir.
Does look like Sheriff, though.
Thank you. No. Sheriff Allison is in French Lick today with the Indiana Sheriff's Association attending a legal update, so you get me today. But this is our commissary report. We're required to submit it quarterly now, so this is January through March. The one point I just wanted to share with y'all is I think Gary in the past had shared the FCC regulations were going to have an impact on this, and so that law went into effect in April. And so now we're going to receive approximately $30,000 to $35,000 less going into this account throughout the year. So there'll be less money going into it. But if anybody has any specific questions, or I can go over it, or whatever you prefer.
Steve,
Yes.
if it's gonna be 30 or 35,000 less, is they charging the inmates less, or where is that money, will it go?
So the sheriffs, the FCC allows the sheriffs to recoup a small fee off of the service that's provided. So the FCC has reduced those fees. So traditionally it would go into our commissary account. So it's just, they just reduced the fee, so it's just going to be less income coming in.
Still have a pretty healthy.
Yeah, it's you know, yeah, we're thankful. I can tell you, I know we've all heard a lot about commissary in the accounts recently, but there's a lot of sheriffs, the majority of them, they follow this. They do everything the State Board of Accounts. They follow it lawfully. There's a few out there that have made some poor choices in it, and it kind of reflects on all of the rest of us.
Yeah.
But for the most part, we're thankful that we have this account here and that we can use it to have some flexibility to meet the needs of the sheriff's office.
Any questions for Steve?
Yeah, considering the balance.
Yeah.
Is there any, what I would say, I guess, significant expenditures that you're planning against that balance? Or is it just gonna be a standing running balance as is?
Okay, nothing comes to mind in the moment in the near future.
Well, you do some training out of
So-
that budget, I think, don't you?
So correctly, yeah. So when it comes to training, we, we do have a training item in our typical budget. We use that to cover the cost of the training. Then we use commissary to cover the travel expenses if there's any associated with it. Kind of share that. But I cannot think of any major things coming out of it. And of course, this fluctuates depending on the jail population. Like goes up and down.
I just didn't know if there was any pending guidance as to what you can and can't use it for. I think we've had that discussion before, but if there's anything that you had planned from a capital or anything that you were wanting to buy out of it or anything.
No, we know there's the 8 criteria that outline what we can spend it for, and then we have that 9th one where if it's mutually agreed upon between the sheriff and the council. But I think that's where some sheriffs get themselves hemmed up in. They don't take a lot of discretion with it. Don't bring it before you folks.
Okay.
Anything else? That's an additional purpose. That's an information item, not something that needs voted on, so thank you.
Good. Thank you.
Next up, SIDC, Greg Jones.
I have a few items in front of you today, so I'm going to try and be really quick on the SIDC portion of this, because we always like to come and tell the commissioners and the council what SIDC has been doing and how we're helping benefit your county. You have what we call the effectiveness report. On the left-hand side, you see the different communities that we're working in, and then on the right-hand side, you see the grant dollars that we've helped bring in for those different communities that are in the area. We're working on, of course, planning Infrastructure, defense has really been a major initiative of us lately, just because that communication between the base of Crane and the communities in the area is very important. And us acting as a governmental entity can do a lot of assistance to the base of Crane because of that designation that we have, and it makes it a whole lot easier than trying to bring a consortium of counties together. We're continuing to work on our housing programs, doing owner-occupied rehabilitation, and then also with the land bank. For environmental clearance and the EPA, we are, have continually worked on cleaning up a huge number of properties in the area. Continue to work on the Tokine property, and we've got a grant application that's in right now to help clean the pad off of that Tokine site. And then once that happens, then it will be opened up for housing redevelopment, and we have developers kind of lining up right now to maybe do 200 to 250 units out on that site. So that would be a big change for that side of Washington. As well, the Hartsburg property, if any of you have been out to the West Gate, you've seen that old gas station there. It's down now. That just happened this week. So we are excited about that.
Bob's excited.
Yeah. We've helped
so am I.
leverage
Get rid of the old school now.
dollars out of the Indiana Finance Authority, their POSI program, to help clean the petroleum up there. So it's going to be a clean site, ready to go for redevelopment that can happen there, and see what that corner will turn into in the future. It's kind of exciting. Of course, we're working on different clearance projects. We all run into issues with our downtowns where it feels like we lose a building about every year. And that's it's sad, but you have to have a plan for helping clean those things up, and we help some of the communities find funding for that. Historic preservation, and then also traffic counting. We're in our traffic counting season right now, so if you have any counts that you want to have specially done on any of the county roads, city roads, helps you make decisions better whenever you're allocating your motor vehicle highway dollars. Let us know. We'll get those counts set for you. And then give you that information. So we're helping our rural communities with asset management assistance. That's becoming more and more important. There's a lot of loan and grant dollars that are a requirement of them having those asset management plans for their utilities as well as for their transit system. And then we've got a plethora of regional strategies that are going on. One that's kind of popping up most recently, and it's coming out of our Knox County, and they're wanting to help do a regional ag economic development strategy. We've seen this take place. That it's not a typical economic development strategy that we have in most of our communities. It's kind of specialized, but it's trying to look at where we have gaps in our supply chain and how to close those, and then where there's opportunities for the ag industries trying to keep our farmers up and going. So we'll be bringing that around and trying to build a coalition on that ag strategy. Of course, we've been working on economic development. Doesn't stop at your industrial sites. We've been working on daycare and trying to help daycare initiatives kind of grow in the area and promote daycare, because that's the workers need that in order to be able to stay at their jobs. We're trying to work on the town of Crane to clean up their infrastructure there that will help the base of Crane. So we're doing some Defense Community Infrastructure Program grants with them in order to try and clean that up. As well, we've been working with Bryant with USTF in order to help just do all of the infrastructure that's going on out at the Westgate of Crane Technology Park. It's a big lift, big ask, and we're puzzling it together, but it's not easy. And so, those are just a few of some of the regional projects that we're doing, and we've always got projects in the hopper. We always start by asking you guys what you think we ought to be doing, and then we go off and do those type of things. All that together adds up to about $18 million in grant funds that SIDC is helping bring to the region. Just as a reminder, the county puts $15,000 into SIDC, and then a little bit into our transit stuff. And so, for the rate of return, it's about for every dollar you put into SIDC, you're getting 113 back. So we think that's a good rate of return. we think that we're really good at what we do, and especially with the small staff that we have. So we're super efficient and just excellent at being able to deliver on projects for the region. One of the new endeavors that SIDC started 2.5 years ago was the Regional Land Bank. And so when we started it, we were in uncharted territory. There isn't many region or land banks in the state of Indiana, and there are no regional land banks in the state of Indiana. And actually, there's only maybe 2 or 3 regional land banks in all of the U.S. So we were trying to do something really new and innovative, and try and have that collaboration amongst multiple counties. In that 2.5 years, you know, most land banks, it's 3 years before they have their first property under ownership. And it's about 7 years before they really hit the ground running and are an efficient organization. So in that 2.5 years, we own 14. We have owned 3 more, but those are in the hands of developers now that are renovating those properties. We have 3 more that will be coming off the tax from a tax sale that'll come to us in 2027. So a total of 20 properties in a 2.5-year time frame. You know, we think we've really gone above and beyond in order to you know, get control of properties that have been hugely dilapidated, like the Hartsburg property, like some of the properties that we've had in our neighborhoods. We're looking for catalyst projects. We're looking for projects that change the vibe of a neighborhood, and so you know we felt like we've done that in a lot of ours. One of the things that is important about our land bank is that we have a renovation contract with anyone that purchases a property off of the land bank. So it doesn't just sell to the highest bidder. We're going to find the right person that has a plan for that site, that you know that they have the financing in place, that they have a good plan that fits in with the neighborhood, and they're going to get it done in a time frame that we agree to. And if they can't, then it takes control. The control is taken back by the land bank. Luckily, we've never had to do that, but you know, it's always, we make the developers highly aware that we're looking for change, and that to happen quickly. So we've had success there. We've used local contractors for, you know, all the yard maintenance, cleanup, inspection, title work, survey, demolition, tree removal. There's a lot that goes into properties. And then, of course, trying to find the different builders and developers. So, you know, we're using the local contractors on that. We think that's important to find the local people to do the work on these. As well, we paid property taxes. We'll have paid probably about $55,000 in property taxes. So that goes right back into the county's budgets on those property taxes. Of all the properties that we've acquired, their value is roughly around $564,000. And we're estimated to generate $3.6 million off of those properties in assessed value. And so that assessed value will mean you've gone from a piece of property that you weren't generating any taxes on to now properties you are generating taxes on. So we think that's a big win, and that's the goal, as well as you're cleaning up these neighborhoods. And then one of our more exciting endeavors is we're going to build a home in Shoals, and we've already broken ground on that. And we've partnered with the Martin County Redevelopment Commission. They put up half, we put up half, and we're actually building a home. So we're hoping that that's a process that we could kind of rinse and repeat and do that multiple times with other counties. Because we see that as being kind of a real impact, and it's building housing in that workforce, for the workforce, not, you know, and we're doing it in, you know, downtown areas where the infrastructure is already there. So the lessons that we've learned on the land bank over the last 2.5 years is property takes a long time to get. Could be 9 to 18 months to acquire a piece of property. Even if it's donated, it takes about 9 months to get through the entire legal process on that. And you know, we wish there were changes in how that happens, but that's maybe legislative changes that need to be made there. No 2 properties are the same. We Bobby has learned that lesson over and over again. She has researched probably over 4,000 properties and continues to research properties every day. You just people talking to her about, hey, can you take a look at this? Can you take a look at that? And she tries to put a plan around every property that crosses her door. Doing things right means getting those inspections, following the legal process, assuring the environmental remediation, but just doing things so that when the property is cleaned up, it's not just cleaned up in looks wise, it's cleaned up title wise, and so that the next owner doesn't have to deal with any of those problems in the future is really important, but it's also costly to do it that way. Code enforcement's important, and so one of our endeavors that we're looking at into the future is trying to how do we get code enforcement to kind of be more similar across county lines, and then how do we assist our counties and cities in doing better code enforcement. So that's something we're going to be working on into the future. And then one of the things that's kind of legislatively, and it's nice that Kelly Streeter's here to maybe hear this, is that there's a lot of LLCs and venture capitalists that are purchasing property, and they do it not to remediate that property. They buy it because they want to hold it and they want it to be redeemed. And when it gets redeemed, and there's typically a 5% to 10% windfall on that investment of holding that property for, in that duration there before it's redeemed. If it doesn't get redeemed, then the property goes back into the system, and then it could be another couple years before that property is able to be anything done with it. So it's a vicious cycle that I think hurts a lot of our communities, and people drive around and say, why doesn't someone do something with that property? They may not be able to. And so we're trying to close some loopholes there, and may need legislation to be able to help close some of those things with it. Just like with the Hartsburg property and the Tokine property, the land bank can be a tool for economic development as well as housing. And so we see that playing both roles in our communities. So the grant runs out on the land bank in September of this year. And so we're asking each of the counties to come up with $50,000 a piece in order to keep the land bank open and operational. We're not, we know it's the worst time ever to ask for money, but we think it's an important service that needs to be done. That consistent effort on these dilapidated properties has to be done by someone. And otherwise the problem is just going to keep perpetuating on itself. And so, that's an ask. We'll send you a formalized request on that, but that is what you can anticipate on an ask for the land bank in order to keep that service open and available. Any questions on SIDC or the land bank?
How many counties are in this?
6 counties are in the land bank. Yep. So we're asking each one to provide that same amount.
See any of the other 5 saying no?
There's a possibility of one. I don't think we'll say yes, but it's hard to say. A lot really relies heavily on finding properties that we can do something with, and that network of people around it. Like here in Daviess County, the auditor's office and are just gold for letting us know like what properties would be good ones for us to take a look at. In some other counties, we don't have that same cooperation, and so we're trying to build those cooperations. But if I had to guess, I'd say 5 out of the 6 will sign up.
So in that one county, then we would not participate in
We
doing.
would not participate with them until they're willing to.
So they got skin in the game.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. Telling you about something exciting, possibly that could happen for Daviess County, is we know about the Westgate Crane Technology Park and all the development that's happening out there. There is an issue that's going to arise, and that issue deals with water capacity and the water flows that are needed for the companies that are coming into the Daviess County portions of the technology park. So it's all of the properties in the Davies County area as well as south of 558, which is also Davies County property that way. And a water tower is going to be needed. It's not needed today, but it'll be needed probably 3 to 5 years from now. And depending on how rapidly that growth happens, and you're probably looking more closely to the 3-year than the 5-year time frame on that. The Economic Development Administration had put on pause a program that was to benefit communities that were negatively affected by the coal industry, downturn in the coal industry. So that's really our part of Indiana, as well as Appalachia across the nation. And so they've got funds available now to where they might be able to do a larger grant than they would typically do, as well as a better percentage on that grant, an 80-20 versus a 60-40 that they would typically do. So there's an opportunity right now of being able to try and get an EDA grant in order to pay for a significant portion of a water tower project that would benefit the Davies County side of the tech park. You know, it had tangential benefits to maybe the town of Crane and to you know, lessening some burden on the other water tower, but it really is the primary benefit is on that Davies County properties for this water tower development. And so that is something I'm pursuing right now. The engineers have been working on estimates on it, and you know what you see in front of you, you see this yellow line, and it kind of snakes all around on the property there, and heads to a storage tank on the south side of the property there. That line cost, because it has to be ductile iron, is very expensive, and so we're trying to lower the cost and move that water tower more closer up to the northern end of the tech park that will still have the same benefits to the Davies County tenants, as well as you know, it would be less line for you to have to run in order to make that project work. So we're doing some value engineering on that right now. We are trying to work towards an application on it. The missing piece in the application is the local match. And so that's why we're, turning to Davies County to say, this could be a very good opportunity to receive maybe up to $4 million out of EDA on a project that could be in the $6 million, $7 million range. So that still means a local match that, you're in that $2 million range, hopefully, hopefully not up to the $3 million range. But that's what we're trying to put together right now. And we're just trying to make that kind of work. So we need you guys to kind of look at your budgets and see if there might be anything in your edit dollars or in your TIF dollars that might be available to put towards that project. And then we can, move forward with the project only when, you guys feel ready and available to move forward with it.
Greg, what about USTF funds and ready funds for this project?
So those are basically all committed.
Absolutely.
They've been very successful in getting those congressional direct spending. That $17 million that's going into the wastewater on the project. EDA has stepped up to fund Greene County for $3 million to add a new well, make improvements to the water treatment plant, and then run ductile iron down to the park. And so that is, that's already a project that EDA is funded. And they're only willing to come back to us really is because they said there's so much development that's happening out there that, they could do another project because of the job creation and the amount of investment that's currently happening right now. I wish I could say there's more funds available out of Ready or others, but really most of it has all been taken, is earmarked for some project that is in that phase 1 of development of the park. And this water tower really fits into that phase 2 of the park development. So, go ahead.
Greg, can you kind of explain to the group the ownership and who gets the profits from this type of system?
Sure. Well, and I guess I'd challenge the term profits
Well-
on it. But, you know, Eastern Heights is the utility that's out there. There was, you know, consideration of Davies County Rural Water being a supplier up into that park. They're not close enough. They don't have commercial lines. They would have to put in a water treatment plant. They would have to put in their own wells, and that's a over $20 million ask. And then you still got to build the water tower. And so, you know, that was a consideration. What it's come down to is Eastern Heights is the utility that is in place now that is covering the park. And so that is the utility you need to work with. The way the EDA project worked with Greene County is that that Greene County is the grant applicant, and they apply for the funds come through them, and then whenever the asset is built, it's turned over to Eastern Heights. No money is exchanged hands. They just turn the asset over to them. They're a not-for-profit organization, and, you know, they are struggling, probably kindly, to keep up with the demand for water that is being put on their rural system. They're used to handling residences, not these large commercial companies that are coming, and the demand that is being put on them is great. So
It is a not-for-profit, you're saying?
it is a not-for-profit, yeah. So, you know,
Doesn't mean they don't make a profit.
no, it doesn't mean they won't make a profit. You know, but their profit gets rolled back into doing the improvements that they need to make on their system. And their system's growing. They have to maintain that system.
And how much are they putting into this tower project?
They aren't.
Greene County.
Greene County, they aren't. There was ready dollars being able to be used on that. You know, really, why we're looking at Davies County is because Davies County will be the largest benefactor of the companies that are coming to this area. You are going to profit, using that term loosely, off the taxes that come from these companies that are coming. And so, you know, we can talk about, you know, having some sort of an agreement with them on rates or, you know, return that would come to the county. What I would challenge on that is, like, do you think you would make more than $4 million off of that endeavor? Like, because this grant would be about $4 million. And so, like, you could look at the life of what you would make off the profits from, you know, charging them for this asset or trying to be repaid on it. But I don't know that you would ever come up with that $4 million. And you may complicate the project so much that we don't have time to put it together with EDA, the funding goes away. We just miss an opportunity there. So,
That's the key.
yeah.
That's the key. The time is an essence on this. And, you know, even though Greg said that we've got a little bit of time in terms
Yeah.
of, the thing is, when you need water, you need it. And with and I can share with you guys later some of the development and some of the new projects that are coming, and some that are potentially, you know, very, very close to being here. We really need this water in the park right away. You know, we've talked about this now for several years, that infrastructure is the big key to why things have not taken off up there like we have. Well, we finally got infrastructure, things rolling.
Yeah.
And we've got companies now committed, and if we want to continue that, you know, Kratos is just late last week, identified another major project. If you build it, they will come. And in this case, the more infrastructure we build, the more we will get. And from a tax base, this is a drop in the bucket compared to what our tax base is going to be up there ultimately down the road.
I'm very familiar with what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what I'd like to see is a lot of the times we get a lot of verbal, and I get nothing written down on what the value and upside is for the county. I get a lot of talk all the time about all these projects that we're doing, but nobody wants to present something like it's secret. Give me the upside, show me the value, and we're in. You know what I mean? But until I see documentation, you know what I mean? I know.
So
I'm having discussions
what-
way before, like when we did the microelectronics stuff. Greene County is like, hey, we'll do whatever you want as long as you're spending money, Davies County. Like, okay, why are we putting in everything when you have an asset as well? There has to be value for both.
Sure.
And so as long as we can come up with something awesome, but it seems really one-sided a lot of the time. So as long as we can do that, it's awesome.
Yeah, because the other piece of this too is that from an Eastern Heights utility standpoint too, as Greg mentioned, you know, they're under a lot of pressure now to get, again, it's just primarily been rural residential customers. And now we've changed with the tech park growing, but now they've got another large project just 3 miles north of the tech park that they have to now figure out how they're gonna get water to.
It's fantastic growth, but there's planning, right? So like you said, if there's some kind of thing that Eastern Heights can provide, like utility, some kind of rate adjustments or whatever, let's look at it all.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's our constituents in Davies County's money, and we wanna make sure it's spent properly.
Yeah, it's going to largely increase the property values of Davies County property. The way we handled the agreements last year between Eastern Heights and Greene County is we just wrote out an MOU and had a memorandum of understanding between the two parties and just kind of like laid it out very simply and plainly there. You know, we'll have to talk to Eastern Heights on I don't know if there's like rate stability or something like that could be built in. You know, I think a lot of that, it just adds time and complexity, right? I'm trying to make as simple a project as I can put together. But if we need to have those conversations, let's do them as fast as possible.
Well, Greg, you're doing phenomenal. Don't let me get
Yeah.
you wrong, but we tend to not have enough planning and we rush into things. And with a lot of projects, it's last minute. I think it needs to be gone over properly. So
Yeah.
I know you're working on it, and I trust you, and I look forward to seeing what you come up with.
Sounds good?
Awesome.
Not to rehash the commissioners meeting, because you went through quite a bit of that yesterday.
Sure did.
But in all fairness to the commissioners and to the council, when you're using Davis County's taxpayers' dollars, there's some more, I don't want to say water over the bridge, but there needs to be some further discussion before this happens. Not saying that it's not going to happen, it probably will. Well, it will, because it needs to happen, and it benefits Davis County. But we're still using our taxpayers' dollars for something that's not owned by anything in Davis County. So there will be some more discussions before we
Yeah.
get to any ink on checks, or, but you can help facilitate that. Communication has been the problem. That was discussed here last week as well. So, and some of that should be taken care of. Monday, there's a meeting to complain about communication. So hopefully after that, we can learn some more. Huh? It is, if everybody talks. See how that goes. But yes, you're on the right road. You're doing what you need to do. We thank you. But there will be some more verbiage conversation there before we get to that point. But we got to start some.
You've got to
Got to start someplace.
got to start here. So you're being updated on the project now, and we're trying to, I'm going to say, we're going to speed up conversations in order to not miss opportunities.
Absolutely.
If we do miss them, you know, it just means we'll probably pay more later. So, but hopefully we don't. Okay.
Thanks, Greg. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Greg.
Thanks, Greg.
I would just make a comment too, regarding, the land bank. Greg's doing some great stuff there and folks, it sounded like when we first heard about the land bank, when Greg was trying to get things pulled together, it sounded a little skeptical as to whether it would work, but I assure you, they're doing a great job. And, it has definitely helped clean up some places that need cleaned up.
And he also gets the honor to go in front of all the boards and say things. And everybody gets to throw darts. So, you know.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Speaking of throwing darts,
Take it easy.
Dan Henning, we're going to talk about the facade grant program at North Davis
Chat.
area.
Good morning, County Council. It's nice to see some familiar faces on the board, and I appreciate the time that you put into our community. I'm here on behalf of North Davies Community Growth Alliance, previously Odin Business Alliance, to propose a new downtown revitalization effort for the North Davies area, a facade grant program. I'd like to go over quickly an introduction, the purpose of the program, overview some details, how we'll do the oversight, and end with a formal request. What we've just been provided with was a packet including a 6-page overview of the program, which was taken from a template provided by Discover Downtown Washington. So we already have the roadmap, if you will, as well as templates of the grant agreement and the award letter that we would use. This program starts with a $10,000 investment from the Odin Town Council, and their focus is on increasing foot traffic downtown. The core of the proposed initiative, our initiative for the facade program, is not only to use these funds well, but to show that they can be leveraged as seed funding for future investments, which will quickly multiply the dollars invested downtown by matching grants. It will spark community engagement in the future and build momentum for potential investments and public grants in the future as well. The purpose of me being here is to formally request $10,000 for this facade grant program. You do have a 6-page facade grant program overview. I know you haven't read it, but we've seen that it works. We have the agreement, we have an award letter, and as you know, these programs are intended to create immediate, visible, positive, and lasting change. So with the $10,000 pledge from Odin, which kickstarts our initiative, and a one-for-one grant implementation, we're automatically doubling the amount of money invested. You know how this works, right? So that's a 2x. But we also know that the private investment is typically more than just that one-for-one grant. And so looking at numbers from Discover Downtown, we've seen where a $40,000 public investment can generate $280,000 in private investment, which is a 7x return on your investment. And so that's the kind of concept that we have here. So with a $10,000 pledge from Odin already, asking for support from County Council. Now, so Odin's funding is slated to be spent in Odin only. And this is where Elnora and Plainville are not getting any benefit. So by coming to the County Council, now we have funding that can be spread out to smaller towns that have less human resources. So we're looking at doing that this year. And as I said, 2x to 7x ideal investment. And then more importantly, initiative and momentum for the future. So incentivizing private investments, qualifying for future grants. I've looked into Okra grants a little bit. I'm sure you're familiar with them. Okra grants can bring 6-figure dollars to downtown, but they will not contribute if you don't already have some momentum and some commitment, right? So I can't guarantee that works in the future, but this is step one. This is what we need to do first. So how will the funds be managed? North Daviess Community Growth Alliance has a treasurer. We're a 501c, and we would have these funds being managed within the treasurer's report every month. And so I'm sure you have some questions. We can talk about those now, or you also have my blessing to reach out to Cindy at Purdue Extension with her experience. But at this time, I do formally request consideration for $10,000 committed to the facade grant program.
And you mentioned this is Odin. So is Elnora and Plainville, is it their intent to come to us and do the same thing?
I can't speak for city municipalities, but we do want to incentivize them to provide commitments.
Odin has committed dollars, right? Cindy, you want to step up, please?
Yeah.
That was on there. Go Friday. They got hit by the weather, so they moved to a Friday evening. He got the blessing to spend $10,000 of the town council's funds. I understand, and Dan can confirm this. So once they've approached you all, and then they're also asking for $10,000 from DCEDC, so their pot will be 30. 10 specifically dedicated only to Odin, but the 20 would be divided, potentially maybe Odin, Plainville. It's not going to, we know from Washington that it wasn't like we had 10 companies, 10 businesses sign up for $3,000 matches. It was less than 3,000 sometimes. It's ongoing. We just reopened ours with the remaining funds that we have. So my understanding was once they've secured the 30, they're going to sit before the Plainville Town Council and the Elnora Town Council, explain what this is, and suggest that they too can contribute. So I don't think, like Dan said, we can't say for sure that they would come to you all. I think the ask would be if they have any discretionary funds they could put towards this to help their property owners in their own town, that would be welcome, but that the money that you are committing could be committed to them.
Do we want to address them first before we commit? So like, you know, Plainville and Elnora, see what they wanna do and then see how much they're gonna contribute? Or-
So we don't know that they have any discretionary funding, like, we haven't looked into that budget. And this is not your fault, but unfortunately, we are a little further into the calendar year than normal for a facade grant program, as you've probably seen in Martin County. Martin County is already awarding. So ideally, we can get this program going sooner than later and show progress this year so that we can work on new progress next year.
Cindy, can you go over briefly the result of Washington's?
Sure, I gave the figure to Dan this morning just to kind of do a reminder, but 2 years ago, would you remember when we started Discover Downtown Washington, one of the things the board wanted to do was something quick, and so we actually called ours the Quick Impact Facade and Grant Improvement Program. So it was a way to not only proof of concept that downtown revitalization can happen, and when we form a 501c3, we're not just gonna sit and let that roll for a few years, we're gonna hit the ground running. And it was successful. There's a lot of moving parts because, again, it's not like you've got people lined up. And honestly, a part of the grant proposal is a quote from a contractor. So right now, contractors, and Jeff's still in here, contractors are backed up, so that can take a while. We try to get them to work with Indiana Landmarks because historic preservation needs to be at the heart of what we're doing in our downtowns, and we've learned that through Okra with the Indiana Main Street program. So basically, they'll promote this as an opportunity to property owners, and then it can be tenants or merchants with an agreement with the property owner if they want to put the money in. And then they apply, they have a plan. The money is a reimbursement, it's not upfront, so they have to actually complete the project. We had we had a few that the project never did come to fruition, so then that's why Discover just threw out theirs again for more opportunity because we've got a little bit of money left. We can assist them if they need help with project ideas. Yeah, and they'll form a small committee that will be they'll decide which grants are approved, and then the final blessing will come from their board.
Well, how much has been spent in Washington?
So if you remember, the ask back then was 20,000 from Washington, 20,000 from you all. We earmarked a little bit of that for marketing. So on actually, I think I just pulled that from my phone. Put 40 in, and then the individual investment and additional funding towards the projects was 280 total. So it was a little over 300.
315, I
Thank
think
you.
it was. I didn't write
Yeah.
down that number, but.
Yeah, 315,016.96. And we track that, and they will too, on a spreadsheet. That's by project. And that's self-reported by the owner of the building, letting us know what else they contributed to the overall cost of the project.
I will make a motion to approve this out of our rainy day fund. But I would like, you guys to reach out to those other municipalities, see what they do, but 10,000 from rainy day, make the motion to approve that.
I will second that.
The money that we spent for Discover Downtown Washington, did it come out of the rainy day also?
I'm not sure where that came from. I just know where our fund balance is and
I'm just curious where we pulled the money from.
where did it come from? We have to look that up.
Yeah, okay.
You want a table where we take it out of and find out first?
Matters, does it?
No.
No, I'm just curious.
Yep. Okay, first and second, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Hold same sign. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Wonderful. And I just want to commend the North Davies Community Growth Alliance for the reorganization they've done of what was a beautiful organization that was going to disband. And they really stepped up to make this happen and turn it into something more. So
Very
kudos
positive.
to them.
We look forward to seeing your progress.
Very exciting.
Thank you
Yep.
for your support.
Thank you, Dan.
Next up, abatement application, Jeremy Wagler Family Properties. We drug him in here. I think this is the third time. And the last time.
Morning, everybody.
There's two sides to this. This is this side, and then we'll have to do the resolution. But our attorney will discuss that second.
Well, just here again, per process, Wagler's here if there's any further questions. But I guess Grant has mentioned the process is in front of you.
So,
Mr. Wagler and Mr. Gruey spoke to you in the past, so you're familiar with this topic. Typically, what we would do with an abatement is at least 2 steps, but oftentimes we want the company and economic development to explain the benefit of going through this process. We do this a couple times a year at most, and this one in particular is real property and personal property abatement. I'll just go through the resolution, and if there are any questions, we'll address those. This is for Wagler Competition Products, but the name of the entity that owns the property there on 500 is J. Wagler Family Properties. Yes. Whereas the County Council of Davis County, Indiana, has determined that certain real property located in the county at 13090 North 500 East, Elnora, Indiana, with title held by J. Wagler Family Properties, LLC, as specified in the application for tax abatement filed by Jeremy Wagler, with a map and description attached as an exhibit, should be designated an economic revitalization area pursuant to Indiana Code 6.1.1.12.11, as amended for purpose of granting real property and personal property tax abatements. Council hereby finds the real estate is an area that has become undesirable for normal development and occupancy due to a lack of development or other factors which have prevented a normal development of property or use of property, and that the designation of said area as an economic revitalization area would enhance the opportunity for the creation of new jobs and investment. Whereas J. Wagler Family Properties anticipates increases in the assessed value of the real estate, and anticipates making significant investments in equipment and personal property in connection with the proposed redevelopment of the subject property, and has submitted the documents attached hereto, as there's 2 exhibits that should be in your packet, including a statement of benefits for real property and personal property as part of its application. Therefore, be it resolved by the County Council of Davis County, Indiana, the real estate is hereby designated as an economic revitalization area within the meaning of the Indiana Code for purposes of granting both real property and personal property tax abatement pursuant to the application submitted by J. Wagler Family Properties. Notice of the adoption and substance of this resolution and all other documents and disclosures required by Indiana Code shall be duly published in accordance with Indiana Code, which notice shall state a date for a public hearing on this resolution, that on said date after hearing objections and remonstrances, considering evidence thereon, this council will take final action determining whether the qualifications for an economic revitalization area have been met, and confirming, modifying and confirming, or rescinding the resolution. A copy of the above reference notice shall be filed with the officers of each taxing unit that has authority to levy property taxes in the geographic area, which is hereby designated as an economic revitalization area, at least 10 days prior to the public hearing on this resolution. And adopted presumably today. You will have a confirmatory resolution at the next meeting that you want it. My presumption is that will be in June. You've got in your packets as well what Mr. Wagler submitted, and something that I mentioned ahead of time, you will want that schedule for the confirmatory resolution, so that's something that you need to think through.
Questions, comments?
I would move that we would approve this.
I'll second it.
Okay, second by Tom. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Pose same sign.
I think just for discussion, maybe we ought to talk a little bit about the schedule that Grant mentioned. For the real property, I would propose that we use the standard 10-year, 10% a year schedule. For the personal property, in light of the changes that the state has recently made in the personal property category, I would propose a 5-year at 20% increments.
That makes sense. Do we want to change the,
Revise that.
based on that?
That's why I was giving that look, because I thought that's where we were going before we
But
said.
yeah, that sounds
Sorry.
good, Tom. I like that.
I would amend my motion to what Tom said.
Okay.
Then we'll have that, we'll confirm that next
And
one.
that would.
Yeah, that will be part of that final document where you create the schedule, so,
But I think we're in agreement. That's what we want to do.
okay. I appreciate you clarifying that, and we'll work together to get that done. All right?
Looks great. The building looks great.
Looks good.
It's getting there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's Gotta be a gas station, right?
Big one.
Next up, Sally, ordinance amendments. We have 4, I don't think some in there. County General from the dispatch, transfer funds from the vacant dispatcher position to overtime is $10,000. We're gonna do this all as one. General fund voter registration, transfer paying everyone out of the payroll now for $3,200. General fund voter registration claims from the judge, transferring paying everyone out of the payroll now. 4,200, and the last one, 1,800, general fund voter registration claims, transferring paying everyone out of the payroll now, basically cleaning up the election. You can do those 4 all at one time. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
So move, Tom?
I'll second that.
Second, Matt, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Oh, same sign. We don't see a number 8 on our agenda, but there is a number 8, wage committee recommendation. We have to briefly discuss that. We met this week,
Friday.
yeah,
Friday.
last week. So, wage committee members, comments?
I feel like every other year, we sat and we discussed departments and we looked at some individual departments separately, trying to bring them up to where they need to be, but overall, in looking at where we are compared to other counties our size, as well as what inflation numbers are within our region, within our county, all of those things. Had some good conversations.
Yeah, and we want to make sure that our employees are taken care of.
Yes.
Looking at all the outside factors that we normally do, we thought what we would come up with. We have some individual things will be sent out to individual offices, but for planning purposes for the rest of the budget, 3.5%, we decided would be beneficial for our employees this year across the board.
Questions, comments?
Did you get a lot of feedback from all departments, or was it a few?
We had a handful that came in, a few that met with us.
3 or 4.
Or emailed and had, if they weren't able to be here. So we took that into consideration. So we'll have emails to them that they can use for their fall budgeting purpose.
Was there a range from the different presenters as to what they thought the increases should be, or?
What their request was?
Right.
Yes.
Yes, as always, but we fulfilled some, but not what the wish list was. We did what we could do.
I move that we accept the recommendation of the wage committee.
First by Tom, second by Darren, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. Next up, the only other couple items, opioid unrestricted funds, if I could speak. Laura's not here. She sent an email basically moving that. Will not be able to attend tomorrow's meeting, provide a brief explanation. These funds were approved by the commissioners for the purchase of a new security camera system for the county community corrections, which will allow our office to align to the same countywide security system utilized by other county offices. And before we ask the question, yes, Dale was involved in purchasing and taking care of all of it. Thank you, Dale. So,
Move to improve the equipment request in the amount of $12,451.50.
first by Tom, second by Michael. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Both same sign. Finally, is the health department on $2,620.96.
Just requesting the reimbursements to be placed back for use. Our CPR AED program is always been strong. This year it's very limited, but these are 2 high priority areas that lots of people in these facilities, and it's very impactful to the community, and have it reappropriated to that line.
Any questions for her? Motions?
Thank you.
Motion to approve.
Motion approved by Darren, second by Tom. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Takes care of that.
Congratulations.
That is it. The other thing we have in our packet is additional information. DCH Park Board Fund Balance, Excel spreadsheets on those things. Any questions from anyone up here on the council? Questions, comments from anyone in the audience? If not, a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved by Matt, second by Tom. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Not going to ask for an oppose. Motion's adjourned.